Hello guys, my name is Aisha Yadkhan. In today's video we are going to learn C++ programming. In today we are going to learn how to print a pattern in C++. Here are the few examples. We are going to use C++ compiler to print the following patterns as our output. We can use to print a triangle, an inverted triangle, pyramid and an inverted pyramid with a specific sequence as we can show in the following examples. So let's dive us into the world of C++. So here are some questions. So we are going to solve how to print the following pattern. So our question 1, we are going to show this diagram as an output on a C++. So first we will check out the diagram output result. As we can see in this figure that it has 5 rows and 5 columns. But after each row it's going to be n and print the second row, and then after printing 2 digits it's going to print our third line, and then our fourth, and then fifth. We can see a pattern in here that in our first line it's going to print a 1 star ring, and our second line is going to print our 2 star rings, and our third line is going to print a 3 star rings, and then 4 for fourth line and 5 stars for fifth line. So we will use our nested for loop structures to solve the problem and get the required output. To get the number of rows, we will use the for loop first to get number of rows, and to get the number of columns we use for loop as an inner loop. So as we see the diagram, block diagram of this program, we can see we use our outer loop which runs 5 times to print a number of rows. Then it will run a loop for inner loop. It's going to print a static as i plus 1 time of per row. Then it's going to print staring and check the condition. If the condition is true, it will end the line. If it is not, it will continue to print the second row. Now here is the flowchart of our diagram, and here it is a program of our C++ program of our output. First we will add the preprocessor directive, then start a program with curly brackets. We will have used first condition of for to print a number of rows. As we can see, there are 5 number of rows in our output. So we have first we declare the I integer and then give a condition. If I is greater than equal to 5, it is going to, if the condition is true, it's going to next line, otherwise it will execute our program. So if it is true, then it's going to the second condition, for which it will take the other integer j which is equal to 0. Then it will check the condition. If j is equals to I, if the condition is true, j is less than I, if the condition is true, it's going to print the staring. If it is not true, it's going to end the line and return to 0. So running this program, our first condition used to print the number of rows which is equal to 5, and number of second condition used to print the number of columns with respect to the number of number of I line in the program. So here is our result of our following program. So here we take another example in which we are going to show our output as the following. So in our first line it's going to print A, and then our second line it's going to print our second letter B 2 times. So looking at this program, we get to know that if the number of line increases, the number of row increases, the number of row it is going to print that number of letters in that row. For example, in row number 1 it's going to print letter A 1 time, in row number 2 it's going to print letter B 2 times, and in row number 3 it's going to print letter C 3 times, and in row number 4 it's going to print letter D, a fourth letter in our alphabet 4 times, and in our row number 5 it's going to print letter E 5 times in our fifth line. So here is the block diagram of our program and a flowchart of our program. So here is a second program of the second question. We have used uh, first for loop to print our number of rows, in which we have 5 number of rows and going to be increased by one by one. Then we have declared the letter a char space and letter which is equals to a, and going to increase one by one when the number of rows increases. Then we have used an inner loop for loop to print a number of columns according to the number of rows with this condition, using this condition syntax. Then after executing this, if the condition is true, it is going to execute a letter which is be stored in the letter after addition or increasing of the letter. After this the condition is going to be false, it's going to end the line and back to the or first condition and going to create a loop. So going to run this program. So this is the output of our second program. Now take our third example. In which we are going to print this triangle but in inverted form. For this, as we can see, in our first row there are 5, in our second row there are 4 digits, and in our third row there are 3 digits, and in 2 rows there are 2 digits, and in 1 row there are only 1 digit. So to print this type of pattern in our C++ output, we are going to invert or reverse all our instructions. So this is the block diagram of our program, and this is the flowchart of our program. So moving to our next program, we have used a first for loop statement for our outer loop, which is going to print number of rows, and inner for loop for our number of columns. But at this point, we have changed it greater and less than sign. In previous programs, we have used the greater than sign, I is less than 5 or 5 greater than I. But in this program, in which we have inverted our output, we have used I is greater than 1 or equal to 1. If this is the true, and we have taken I is equals to 5 and have checked the condition. If this is true, I is going to be decreased by number 1, and then it will execute our next line, in which we are going to print number of columns according to output. For inner loop, we have used number int and declared the variable j as an integer and take that initial as 1, and then check the condition if j, which is equals to 1, is greater than equal to I which I is equals to 5. If this is true, j is going to be increased by number 1, and then it means that j is first time printed 1. Then after increasing, going to print 2 and check the condition. If it is true, you're going to execute next time, and then check the condition after, and loop continue when this condition become false, and then end our line, and then again move to our first loop. Then check the condition, I is decreased by 1, which is become 4, and then check by condition if 4 is greater than equal to 1. Then if it is true, it's going to execute our second loop and check the condition and going to print. Now we are going to run our program, and here it is the output of our third program. Now moving to our next example number 4, in which we are going to print this output for which we are going to print a pyramid structure. For this, we are going to distribute a triangle in 2 parts, half from this and this. Here is a block diagram of a part, a flow chart. So here is a program written on C++. For this, we have used 4 times for loop to print our program. So as we have talked about, so it just one outer loop, one inner loop, and another outer loop for second half of the triangle, and another inner loop. So here we take another example for which we are going to print the same this triangle, but pyramid, but it is inverted pyramid. So for this we are going to use same number of things, but same number of things for it. So but I use 4 times for loop to print a half cycle but invert the sign of this number of rows, for example. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching my video till end and hope you enjoy it.